Hi my lovelies, so today I'll be showing you how I made this stretch ribbed glitter skirt and exactly what steps you need to take to make one for yourself. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to watch part 2 to see how I made the matching top. You'll need a skirt to copy, paper, set square or ruler, pencil and paper scissors. Fold the skirt pattern in half, then trace around it. The pattern that we're making will be on the fold, therefore we just need a single piece, which will make the front and the back of our skirt. Start off by tracing your skirt pattern. Make sure you leave at least 2 centimeters on the side, as when you fold it up sometimes the fabric bulks up and you may lose the extra 2 centimeters that you need for the stretch. When you trace around the hem, make sure you double check how much the hem turnover was. For my skirt, I think we had about 1.5 centimeters turnover, so I added that in to my pattern. Then add your seam allowance all the way around. I added around about 2 centimeter seam allowance on the sides, as I'd rather cut my skirt big and then make it smaller. Don't forget to label your pattern piece. That way, in the future, you know exactly what size it is, when you made it and what it was, so you can reuse it easily. So this is what it will look like. So for my waist, I added another 4 centimeters turnover, and this is where my elastic will go. When you're creating the waistband, add your 4 centimeters all the way around, then half the paper. That way we can create the side seam. If you just cut the side seam straight up, you're not going to have enough fabric to create the correct shape. So what I'm doing here is folding it in half, then retracing the side seam, and then when you open it up, it will give you the correct shape that you will need to put the elastic in. So once it's cut, it should give you this little V shape between the top of the hem and the skirt itself. It should look like this. So cut out your skirt pattern, and then this will be used for your front and back. Don't forget to label it. For the next step, you need the paper pattern that we created, the fabric you're going to use, ideally stretch, as my skirt was stretch that I copied, and you will need fabric cutting scissors and pins. I used a sewing machine and an overlocker. Overlocker is optional. You can just use a zigzag stitch. Fold your fabric in half as our pattern was on the fold. Make sure that the grain line is running down. As I'm using ribbed fabric, just follow the rib all the way down. Make sure you pin it down securely, otherwise you won't get the correct finish or the correct fit, as the fabric tends to move quite a lot and you don't want the skirt to end up being small. So pin as much as possible. So once I cut my front out, I used the fabric pattern to cut out my back, because I did add an extra few centimeters while cutting it, just in case the skirt was too tight. I tend to do this quite a lot when I'm making stuff for myself, as I like to have more fabric just in case I've cut it too small. Make sure you match the rib pattern up, as you don't want the rib to look different on the side seams, and you want the grain line to be running straight down, as this will change the shape. And make sure when you're cutting the fabric you feel the stretch. The stretch needs to go around your body, not down the skirt. So just double check that when you stretch the fabric out, it is stretching around your waist and not the length of it, as the length will change the shape, and if the fabric is only stretching one way, it won't fit your body. Lay your pattern down right way to right way, and then pin it down the side seams. Now, if you pin the side seams down with the pin running across like this, then you can just simply sew over the pins without having to take them out, and this will just ensure that the fabric is secure when stitching and it doesn't move. So this is where I will be stitching. As you can see, I have left quite a lot of seam allowance around my skirt, but this is just to make sure that it fits me and I don't have to add any extra panels, and then at the end I will just cut the extra seam allowance off. So now, as you can see, the way I've placed my pins, I can just simply run the sewing machine over it without my needle breaking and without the fabric moving around too much. Once you're done, take the pins out and then you can overlock this. If you don't have an overlocker, that's okay. You can just add a zigzag stitch, but that means if you've got any extra seam allowance, you will have to hand trim it. With my overlocker, it will just trim the extra fabric off. Make sure if you don't overlock this, you do zigzag stitch it, because we want the seams to be secure. As this is a stretch fabric, once you have your stretch skirt on, and if it's really fitted, sometimes the seams do tend to break apart. If they do break, then that means you're going to have a hole in the skirt, and if you're wearing this out on a night out, you don't want that to happen. So if you add a zigzag stitch, it just secures the skirt even more. So just make sure that you add that extra step and just zigzag stitch everything. For the elastic, measure your waist. Make sure the elastic is slightly tighter than the waist of the skirt, as we want the skirt to fit us nice and snug. Now, once this elastic has been cut, put the two sides together and do a running stitch. Then the extra flap, fold it over and do a little square stitch. This will just ensure that the elastic is nice and secure and it's not going to rip apart once it's been placed in the waistband. Once you've done that, find the middle of the elastic and pin it on the center back of your skirt. Do the same for the center front and side seams. Make sure that you've pinned it equally. Pull the elastic ever so slightly when stitching the skirt, as the waist of the skirt itself is going to be bigger than the elastic. The reason we do this is so we have equal gathers all around the waistband. When you stitch the elastic to the waistband, make sure that you stitch the top part of the elastic band and the waist by 0.2 millimeters, as we will be folding this over. Once you've done your running stitch all the way around the waistband and the elastic, fold the elastic over slightly and then do the same thing. Pin the center, front, center, back and side seams and stretch the elastic ever so slightly to create your final waistband. And then this will give you a slight gather around the waistband. The hemline is optional. You can either zigzag stitch it to finish it off, overlock it, or you can zigzag stitch and overlock it and then just fold it over and do a 1 centimeter turnover and just stitch it as normal. And this is what the skirt should look like. Part 2 of this video will be out next Friday, where I will show you how to make the top. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe to see more DIY videos like this, and please let me know what you want to see next or what you thought of this in the comments below. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.